All right, so if animals could talk,
Okay.
which animal would be the rudest?
The rudest animal.
The rudest animal.
Ooh, a bull? Because it has like horns and it's like a mean, grumpy face. It's like, with its little
All
thing.
bulls have mean, grumpy faces?
All bulls. Yes, all bulls. Have you ever seen a nice bull in that ring? Yadele, yadele. You know what I mean? In the
Well, if
ring.
you put it like that. If you put
Thank
it
you.
like that. Okay.
Who do you think would be the rudest?
There's not even a question that it would be cats.
Cats?
Cats always have a mad look on their face.
Cats do
no matter what they're doing.
No.
Cats would be the rudest animal.
Over a bull? No.
Over a bull.
No, you loved my argument.
Nah, cats.
No. I'm sorry.
Cats are the rudest animal.
Bulls are the rudest animals. Ooh, they're so.
I'm calling bull. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Imperfect Marriage. I'm TJ.
I'm Jennifer.
And we're so excited to be back for episode 2. Who knew there would even be an episode 2?
Who knew?
And our goal today, as with every episode of this podcast, is that we want to show you that it's not having a perfect marriage that matters, but it's having a marriage that's full of love, full of joy, full of purpose, and full of
fun.
Yes. So we've been talking and praying about what our next episode should be about, and what came to your mind?
Wow, for weeks now it's been finances have been on my heart, and that's our talk. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness.
Oh, go lay down.
Okay, we're not editing this, Phoebe. Gosh. Oh boy, sorry about that, y'all. So finances have been on my heart for about the last few weeks, and I don't know if it's because we're going through a time that's we had to really kind of look at our finances and say,
Right.
Okay, what's going on? What do we think is happening here? What's going on? So for us, it would have to be finances. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
So what do you think would be the most important practice when it comes to finances?
Well, I think that in a lot of areas, this is the most important thing in marriage. Mm-hmm. But certainly when it comes to finances, I think that communication and being on the same page is one of the biggest things. Yeah. I mean, if you are not on the same page with one another and two people are pulling in different directions, then, it's the old Abraham Lincoln, house divided against itself can't stand.
The old Abe.
Old Abe. He was honest.
Abe. He was an honest Abe.
Honest Abe.
Yeah.
So I do think that communicating together regularly to just make sure that we're on the same page. I mean, communication is key, like I said, in any aspect of marriage,
right. But
most certainly in finances. You have to communicate clearly. You have to, be on the same page.
Often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10, the Apostle Paul is writing to a church that he set up in Corinth. And this is what he says to the church leaders. And I think the same principle applies here when we're talking about marriage. So it says, I appeal to you, brothers and sisters, in the name of our Lord Jesus, that all of you agree with one another in what you say, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be perfectly united in mind and thought. And I think that in marriage, when you've got a couple, and let's be honest, right? Imperfect. We're never going to be perfectly united.
Right.
But when you've got a couple who is regularly communicating and who is on the same page with each other, who is unified, who is united and working towards the same goals, that couple becomes far more effective in doing what God has called them to do.
Yeah.
So, for us in our marriage, can you talk about a time where we were not on the same page?
So there might have been a time or two when we weren't on the same page, of course. So we, first of all, we had some really great mentors in through college. took us under their wing, showed us the Dave Ramsey financial piece, just really blew our minds and just really took us in like one of their own kids and really just blew our mind with all of this financial stuff that we had absolutely no clue about. And while we both have, and all that stuff, and we both have the most amazing parents, but I wasn't taught this. Yeah. You weren't taught that.
Yeah, maybe implicitly, like I watched my parents do a good job budgeting, but I don't know that we ever explicitly talked too much about how to budget and how to save and why
what
it's
that looks like. And so, we had never had that experience. So we went through and we were like, oh my goodness, this is mind blowing. And, we were both on the same page, or so we thought. So, I'm just graduating college, and one of my friends.
No, this was after we got married. So we graduated college in December. We got married in May.
Okay.
And this was literally the summer that we got married. So we got married in May. This was like June or July. Yeah.
So, I got involved in a pyramid scheme. Okay, now I'm not happy about it by all means, but I wish I could say I signed up and then it was done. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it was not. It was months and months and months. Now, to keep up your membership, you had to spend $300 a month. Okay, so we're just new.
And can we say, by the way, to people that are involved in multi-level marketing situations, maybe you're good at it. Maybe you have the sales gene. Maybe you know how to do it.
Yeah.
So if that's you, then good for you. You do your thing.
Yeah.
My wife is really good at a lot of things, but she is probably the worst salesman on the planet.
Oh, y'all, it was bad. Okay, I was giving everybody costs, like what I had to pay.
And sometimes even less.
You brought that up?
Yes.
Gosh.
So she would pay $8 for a product and sell it to somebody for $5.
I'm not happy about it. Again, this is not a shining moment for me, okay? But I was just like, oh, I'm helping out this lady so much who I really love. And, aren't people excited? Of course, I'm giving them such a great deal. And so for months and months and months, that first of the month would come and I had to pay $300. Now, I'm getting nothing, so of course it's having to come from our bank account. So I dreaded the first of the month. Oh gosh, and I would pay the $300 and he'd be like, so I was looking at our bank account and like I would start sweating and I'm like, oh yeah, you were looking at the bank account? That's great. And he's like, babe, why did you spend more money? I'm like, oh, this month is gonna be different. Babe, I'm gonna blow you away by how much I sell this one. Like, it's gonna be so good. And then it would happen, and then the next month would come, and he'd be like, babe, you spent more money? And I'm like,
more money?
No, I know, but it's different this time. He's like, what was different about it? No, it's not different. It's the same. This caused so many issues in our marriage. When we were first married, I mean, okay, you think, oh, honeymoon blissful. Oh no, y'all, we were having arguments about the finances. Now, we both knew
Well, and the thing is,
Dave Ramsey,
we thought we were on the same page, which is what was so frustrating to me. As we had just gone through this, we had talked about, we're gonna save this much, we're gonna, and we're just starting out. Like we're trying to save to buy a house, and we're just starting out as first year teachers, so we're not making a ton of money, and budgeting and everything is new to us, so we're trying to figure all this out. And we've got this drain on our income and I don't know that it was every month that you had to spend that much.
It was.
But it was pretty frequently. It felt like every week.
No, stop it. It was every month. It was the first of the month.
So, and we titled this episode, Pyramid Scheme Divorce. Now, to be honest, and to be perfectly serious about it, divorce was never an option. That was never on the table. And we'll talk more about that in another episode, how you can't use the D word in marriage. But it really did cause a lot of tension in those first few months of our marriage.
Horrible.
Because, again, I'm a saver by nature. And we've just got this money, and if we're gonna spend money, at least let it be on something that's fun or purposeful, not on so that we can supply everybody in town with these products at less than we're even paying for them. And it ended up being more of a charity than a business. So we ended up having to walk away from that, right?
We had to have a coming to Jesus meeting, and he's like, babe, like we're just starting out. Like we took these classes, like as well as I do, like this is not sustainable. Like, we don't have this money. This is not in our budget. Like, you can't be. So I'm so sorry to say I had to call the lady and say, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. Yeah, it's causing too many problems in our marriage. That's what we had to come to. So,
well, and I think on a side note here, probably a different topic, but somewhat related to this is, as much as you wanted to help your friend out,
yes,
like at some point there comes, it comes the moment where you have to decide what's more important, my relationship with this lady over here, or is my marriage more important?
Right.
And you should never use your marriage as a way to threaten or manipulate. But the fact of the matter is, our priorities are God first, then our marriage, and then everything else comes after that. And so in that situation, it was, hey, as much as you love this friend, it was, hey, I can't help you out because it's really causing a strain on my marriage, and my marriage is more important to me than this. And that's part of having shared goals too. Like, we have to have the same priorities, even when it comes to following God, and then putting our marriage second only to Him. So.
Yeah. So God is so good. So we got through that, which was amazing because that was really rough. That was super rough, but just such like a good reminder of like, we have got to be on the same page financially, because if not, it will cause issues. Finances is always number 1 or 2 when people are getting divorced. So it was a real issue that we really had to address. And then we had to put limits on, okay, this is what our budget looks like. And then if I'm going to spend any more than, say, $50, I'm going to let you in on it. And then we're going to discuss the purchase. So it became a whole new way of how we do our budget. And it was really a great experience for us to go through.
And so, in all honesty, as bad as that season was in terms of, us butting heads financially, it really turned out to be a blessing in the end, because it gave us the opportunity to figure out, okay, what's wrong? I'm a sports guy, and so in sports you always learn more from your failures than you do from your successes.
Babe, way to throw in a sports reference. Good job.
Probably be one in every episode.
No, absolutely. I love it.
So you go back and you watch the film, right, on a game, and you say, this is where I messed up, and now you can improve that area. And so for us, this was certainly let's go back and watch the film on this and say, where did we mess up? And that enabled us to come up with some new practices and habits in our marriage that, like you said, we're not going to spend X amount of money without talking to each other first. And it's not to be controlling, but it is to be unified and to be on the same page.
Absolutely.
Because you can't have one spouse who's trying to empty water out of the boat, and the other spouse is back there with a garden hose filling the boat up. Then you're working in 2 different directions, and that just makes for it's a recipe for disaster at that point.
It is. You have to be able to communicate. And then I want to say that I did get better about finances. Thank you very much. So just recently, a couple years ago, we were in the market maybe looking for a bigger vehicle. And we're just trying to be, work through our finances, trying to be debt-free. These are the certain steps we want to take. And one of the things that we had promised ourselves about 3 years ago is that we would never have another car payment. And so that was in my mind, like, we're never going to have another car payment. So if we don't have the cash to pay for it, it's not going to happen. So a couple years ago, we were kind of looking around for a new car and stuff. And, this guy comes in. Okay, now it's about him. Okay, let's put the spotlight on him for a moment. And he's like, babe, I found it. I'm like, you found what, baby? He's like, I found our car. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Can't wait to see pictures. How much is it going to cost? He's like, well, it's going to cost this much down, and it'll just be a small car payment. I said, no. You know what? Flag on the play.
We'll have it paid off.
We'll have it paid off. On the play?
I think this was like in July or something. I'm like, we'll have it paid off before the end of the year. It won't be a big deal.
Babe, no. If we can't pay for it in cash, we don't do it. We are not having a car payment. So as much as you think you might love this car that you see, we're not going to do it. So either you can find a way to make it work in the budget with the money we have, or we can look for a different car. Smiley face.
And so I am a sucker for, like, as much of a saver as I am, I'm a sucker for nice things, and I'm a sucker for new technology and things like that. So, like, I'm looking at these cars, and I'm like, oh, this one has this feature and that feature, and it's really not that much. And, the car payment would only be so small, and we'll have it paid off by the end of the year. And I kept trying to convince her, even though I knew, like,
He knows.
This goes against everything that we have talked about and planned for financially. But I tried to justify, which we're all masters at justifying things we want.
His justification did not work over here.
So in that moment, I needed Jen to remind me, like, hey, these are our goals, right? This is what we've talked about. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
As much as I would like a new car too, if we can't afford it cash, then we can't afford it now. And so instead of having a car payment for the rest of this year, we'll pay it off by the end of the year. Why don't we just save for the end of the year, and then we'll just pay for the car in cash?
Yeah.
And so, we talked more about it. We prayed more about it. We looked at the finances again. And we were able to go, buy that car after some negotiation. We were able to go buy the car that we wanted, and paid cash for it, which is like, I didn't even know that was possible.
I know.
To buy a nice car
excited,
for cash. But thankfully, because we had been on the same page for so long, when it came to saving, when it came to putting aside money for this and preparing, knowing that we'd need a new vehicle at some point, and then Jen reminding me, hey, we're not going to reach for a car we can't pay for in cash. But man, I will tell you, and we won't get too much into it because we'll talk about it in another episode, but the freedom of driving off of that dealership, like, first of all, we didn't have to spend 5 hours in the dealership, going through financing and this and that.
It was the nicest, easiest purchase I've ever had in my life. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. And I know not everybody's in that situation yet, but I do want you to know that it's possible to pay cash for a car because we've done it and we are not wealthy. And we did it, and we bought a nice car. It was slightly used with low mileage, all the features that I wanted. And we walked out of that dealership with a car that we owned, that we didn't owe a dime for. And I'll tell you, we're not about worshiping or idolizing stuff. But man, I love that car a lot more than I ever loved any car that I had a payment on.
Right.
Because it's ours. Like, we own it.
And it gets to be such a burden having to pay these because, again, you're slave to the lender.
Yeah.
So it was just such a great feeling. Like, we're still now, like, we're in awe of, like, we own this car. Yeah. Like, nobody can come take it away.
Yeah.
Like, we own this car. And then we're also talking about that with our kids. Like, our son knows, like, we paid for this car cash and now it's completely ours. So he's now starting to understand that, and he'll even say things like, I don't ever want a car payment. And we're like, hey, bud, like, that's awesome. And like, hopefully you won't ever have to if you follow these principles. You're going to be golden, baby.
But just to say, we didn't get there overnight. Like, the two cars we had before that had payments on them. Like, we didn't get there overnight. And it took a lot of hard work and sacrifice to get to that point. And then it took even, again, being reminded by my lovely wife that these were our goals. This is what we talked about. This is what we're going to stick to.
We're not gonna.
And so we just want to encourage you guys. Our goals don't have to be your goals. You don't have to do things the way that we did them. We're not saying that the way we do everything is the one way that God says needs to be done. It's just the way that God has walked us through, and it's been successful for us. So we can share that with you, and you can take what works for you and leave what doesn't. So we're not trying to create carbon copies of us because believe me, we're not that great.
No.
But we just want to give you what
works for us isn't going to work for you guys. Obviously, we're completely different. We're a different couple. We're different people. But one thing that we really do suggest is to write out your goals. Yeah. So if you're like me, you want to do paper pencil, fine. If you're more technology savvy, is that what it is?
Sure.
Technological savvy? Then you may want to write them down in your phone, somewhere on the computer, and just have that to go back and reference. Because how fun is it when we were able to come back to that a few years later and look at our short-term goals, our long-term goals, and say, oh my goodness, babe, we were able to do da-da-da-da-da in our short-term goals, and we already knocked off one or two of the long-term goals. But having that written down is so key. Because you can think of things.
And there's all kinds of research out there that talks about how much more likely you are to achieve a goal if it's actually written down. And then if you want to go a step further than that, after you write it down, or if you put it in your phone, you can print it out, you can write it out, whatever, tape it somewhere where you're going to see it on a regular basis so that you can be reminded. So in those moments where you want to get the new car, or in those moments where you want to go out and buy the new shoes or this or that, that maybe is not going to help contribute to you meeting that goal, you can be reminded, like, this is why we're sacrificing.
Right.
This is why we're going to wait to do that. Not saying we can never do it, but this is why we're going to wait. So having those goals written out and then posted somewhere where you can come back to them on a regular basis, and then just reminding each other, that's what we're here for as spouses, is to be each other's teammates, to be each other's champions, support each other, encourage each other. And so when it is, when one of us has a moment of weakness and we're threatening to compromise on our goals, the other one can remind you, hey, listen, not in a judgmental or condemning or like nagging way, but just say, hey, listen, these were our goals. This is what we decided on together. We're going to stick to that. Yep. And, we all have moments of weakness where, we can get a little ahead of ourselves and we want something nice.
It's true. We're imperfect after all.
Imperfect. So that's where we're going to leave it off today. We're going to spend the next couple episodes talking about our personal financial goals and how that looks in our marriage. And then you can take what you want from that and leave what you don't
Maybe
want.
you like part of it, or you're like, oh, I can, edit this part to my liking or to my family. That's perfect. That's awesome. So we really encourage you guys to do that within the next week or month. Just kind of get your ideas down, which would be awesome. So, but guys, we hope that you enjoyed today's video. You can show us that you like it by clicking like or subscribe. And then if you know someone that you want to share this with because it was a good, fun laugh and you had some fun today, then please go ahead and share that also. And then if you have any questions, comments, anything that you want our future videos to be about, go ahead and just leave those in the comment box.
Yeah, please. We already got one really good suggestion on a future topic for a video, and we're really looking forward to getting that one done as well. So please give us your ideas. Tell us what you'd like to hear us talk about, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time.
And thank you guys so much for your support. We were really blown away with everything.
Oh yeah, it was awesome to see how many people actually took the time to watch, to like, subscribe, and just to comment and send some love our way. We really appreciate it.
We really do. Thank you so much.
We love you guys, and we will see you next time. God bless.
Bye, guys.